For more on this, let's bring in Tennessee Republican Senator Bill Hagerty. He's a member of the Foreign Relations Committee. Senator Hagerty, thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate it. You heard Lucas Tomlinson's reporting there. We've been hearing over the past number of days conflicting information, that from the Biden administration versus what's actually being seen on the ground. And now we have the U.S. Embassy warning Americans in country not to head to the airport. Then at the Pentagon briefing, we hear that the U.S. military is ready to process people through the gates. What do you think Americans in country should take away from these conflicting messages? What should they do?
They need to look out for themselves right now, and I hate to say this. What we need to do as Americans is own this problem. Rather than spin and deflect, which is what we're hearing from the White House, rather than hearing words like it's a fluid situation, it's dynamic, these are code words for chaos. What's happened here is an abject failure in execution. I was the U.S. ambassador to Japan before becoming a United States Senator. It was my job to have put in place a non-combatant evacuation operation plan, a NEO plan. My responsibility as chief of mission was to be able to move at any point north of 250,000 Americans that would be in place in Japan at any point in time. I had to know how to collect them, how to process them, and how to move them to safety. That plan should be in place here. It's not being executed. I know that the Americans on the ground are severely, severely concerned about what to do. They've been told everything from make your way to the airport, you're at your own risk, now to stay at home. They need to be watching carefully. Watch Embassy Kabul. Watch their communications carefully and closely. Be careful right now. And we've got the finest military in the world. We need to deploy them in a fashion that will make certain that American citizens are brought home safely. And one of the greatest concerns I have is the fact that we see things happening right now, like the threat of ISIS around the airport that shuts the airport down, like the lack of capacity in receiving countries to take on these passengers. So again, it shuts down air travel. All of these things make it very difficult to have a finite timeline, which Joe Biden has set. I think that's very dangerous to have an arbitrary timeline in place. The clear message should be that we're not leaving until the last American is out. That's the way we should be handling this.
And it does have our allies extremely concerned as well. And we heard Jackie Heinrich talking about this. The Associated Press is reporting that a top U.S. Biden official is saying that now that Americans are being given specific instructions in small groups to somehow get to transit points where they will then be met and transferred by the military. That brings up two questions. One, do you know if Americans inside are getting this type of guidance? And two, does this mean that U.S. military troops are moving outside that perimeter at the Kabul airport?
Well, I'm not certain the specific guidance that Americans are getting right now, but I'll say this. Our allies have figured out how to do this. The Brits, the French are going in and extracting their citizens and moving them out. I was relieved by learning that we used a Chinook to actually use Chinook helicopters to actually move our citizens out of danger, move them into the airport, and get them in the process of getting out of the country. We need to use every asset available to us, and we need to use the strength of the U.S. military to make certain that every American is safe and that every American is evacuated properly.
And Senator, you were one of the members of the U.S. Senate on the GOP side who signed on to a letter to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin over tremendous concerns about the U.S. military equipment that is still inside the country and in the hands of the Taliban. Can you give us a little more information on that and what you're seeking?
Of course, Alicia. Yeah, of course. I think every American is concerned that United States taxpayers have, in effect, armed the Taliban. And what we've asked Secretary Austin to let us know, over the past year, what is an inventory of the equipment that we've sent to Afghanistan to their army? And of that, how much did we actually retrieve or how much did we disable as we have evacuated? That means how much is actually left in their hands. We need to know what the inventory is of usable equipment on the ground or the equipment that actually they could use with the help of the Chinese, the Russians, the Pakistanis, the Iranians. We need to understand what the threat is there. And then we also need to know what is our plan to either retrieve that equipment that's there now or to destroy it.
Have you received a response from the Secretary or the Secretary's office?
No, we have not yet received a response, but I think our concern is felt by every American. We need to know what's there, and we need to make certain that we're not in a position where we have armed the Taliban.
Absolutely. Senator Bill Hagerty, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Alicia.
And as Americans watch the crisis unfold in Afghanistan.